Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Wednesday, December 11th edition of the MMAOB Daily Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Ann Martin, and I'll be taking you guys through the latest in the world of mixed martial arts. I got to mention myself and Cole Sheldon, we did the full UFC 245 preview yesterday, so definitely go back and check that out if you missed that podcast from yesterday. Broke down every fight in that card. Man, that card's sick. I'll be there Saturday night in Las Vegas. I cannot wait for that card. It's going to be a good one. If you guys are going, let me know for sure. Try to meet up with you guys. Couple of things to talk about today. Not a ton of news, but definitely a few things worth mentioning. We'll start with Dana White. He did an interview with BT Sport ahead of UFC 245. And one of the questions the interviewer asked was, what's going on with Conor McGregor and Khabib Nurmagomedov? Is there a rematch possibility? So I watched the interview, and first off, like the interviewer, he's like, "Is Conor versus Cerrone official? Like, isn't that known?" I don't understand how someone interviewing Dana White couldn't know that fight is obviously already official. So it's kind of weird. But anyways, Dana confirmed that fight's official. He confirmed Ferguson versus Nurmagomedov, which we knew already. So again, like you got to do your research before you interview people, especially when you're interviewing Dana White. I don't know how that guy didn't understand that those fights have been made official for a while. But anyways, Dana White said that if Conor beats Cerrone and if Khabib beats Ferguson, there's a chance we could see the rematch. So that's obviously not going to be the news that Justin Gaethje wants to hear and the other contenders at 155 want to hear, but I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. I still feel like Conor might be chasing that Masvidal fight because I think he is one of the bigger names right now in the sport, and that's a big fight. But I think all of us for a long time have thought that Conor versus Khabib 2 would be a fight that makes sense just because it's such a big fight as far as money goes. The first fight did blockbuster pay-per-view numbers. A rematch would do big numbers as well. So does Conor deserve it if he beats Cerrone? No, especially since it's at 170. You got Gaethje knocking guys out left, right, and center at 155. Like, he deserves that shot. But again, money talks. Justin Gaethje, hardcore fans love him. Do casual fans know Justin Gaethje is? I don't know. I'm not sure. He might be my favorite fighter ever. You know, the guy's super exciting. I think he might be most of you guys' favorites as well. But if you're the UFC, do you give that title shot to Justin Gaethje or do you give it to Conor? You probably give it to Conor. So Conor McGregor is going to position himself really well if he beats Donald Cerrone. He just has to beat Cerrone, and then 155 or 170, he could get title shots at either weight class. We'll see what happens. Obviously, there has to be two things that happen here. Conor's got to beat Cerrone, and Khabib's got to beat Ferguson. That's not a sure thing either. That's a really tough fight for him too. So if those two things happen, there is a chance we could see Conor versus Khabib before the end of next year. But there's no sure thing in the sport, and those two guys have to win their fights, and there's no guarantee that's going to happen. But yeah, I'm just not surprised by Dana's comments. I don't think anyone could be. And yeah, you got to feel bad for a guy like Gaethje, but at the same time, money talks, and the UFC knows that McGregor Khabib 2 is a big money rematch. A couple other things to talk about here. Ilima-Lei Macfarlane, she will be defending her title next week against Kate Jackson in Bellator, and she is a teammate of Liz Carmouche, as we talked about yesterday. They're good friends, but interesting thing was Liz was actually on Ariel's show the other day, and she said she would fight Ilima-Lei, and she says they've talked about fighting if it was for a title. So that's interesting. And I think a lot of us assumed they wouldn't fight, but she's like, you know what? We beat each other up in the gym. Why not fight? Which is good to hear. I actually like hearing that. And now Ilima-Lei has gone out on the record and said she did a bunch of interviews yesterday. She said she would fight Liz if it's for the title in Bellator. So that's a fight that could happen, and that's an interesting fight if it does happen. Now, the funny thing was about Ilima-Lei, she did an interview with Junkie yesterday, and she wasn't misquoted. She just said something that didn't come off very, very well. And she said she wants to lose her belt to Liz Carmouche. She's like, I want to lose my belt to Liz. And later on, she went on her Twitter and said that basically she didn't know, she didn't phrase it the right way. She meant like if she would lose her belt to anyone, she'd rather lose to Liz than anyone else. But the way she said it was, I want to lose my belt to Liz. And you got to see the comments from people, and I can't blame them. They're like, that's the weirdest thing a fighter's ever said. Like, who wants to lose their belt? Super weird. So she wasn't misquoted. She misspoke, and that happens. All of us misspeak all the time. So, you know, kind of feel bad for her. I can't blame the MMA websites for running with those headlines, though. Honestly, I would have did the same thing. So she just should have chose her words better. But again, most of us misspeak all the time. But yeah, it does look like that fight could happen, guys. So it's an interesting matchup. I do think Ilima-Lei wins next weekend, I should say. Liz seems very likely to sign with Bellator. Ilima-Lei's her good friend. She's put a good word in. Bellator has Scott Coker, and they have Rich Chu. Both those guys used to work for Strikeforce. Liz used to fight in Strikeforce. She has a good relationship with them. It just makes a lot of sense. It's a really good fit on paper. They do a lot of events in California. She's from California, lives there in San Diego, so it makes a lot of sense. It's a good signing. And if that fight does happen, I mean, I would have to obviously favor Ilima-Lei. She's undefeated. She's a really good fighter. But Liz Carmouche has that grinding style that can give a lot of fighters problems. She could potentially give Ilima-Lei some issues. They have trained together extensively, so they know each other's weaknesses and strengths. And again, I would pick Ilima-Lei, but it is an interesting fight. I got a comment here. Sibe1. Khabib says you don't want to fight with him. Beat him again. You're right, buddy. You're 100% right. Khabib said that he wants Conor to get 10 wins before they fight. And obviously he's exaggerating there. But yeah, I don't think he's interested in that fight. He wants to fight Tony. He's fully focused on Tony. His father says that the training camp's going really well. So that fight's going to happen next, as we know. But honestly, money talks, man. The UFC usually gets what they want. So if the UFC wants to do the rematch, they'll get what they want. A couple other things here. Anthony Smith, he was speaking yesterday or a couple days ago, and he called out Glover Teixeira. And that's a good call out. If you look at the UFC light heavyweight division, there just isn't that many guys available right now for Anthony Smith to fight. He's already beaten a lot of the guys, or he's fought them, or they're booked. So the one guy in the top 10 who hasn't fought yet, who's free, who doesn't have a fight, is Glover Teixeira. Great call out. Makes a lot of sense. Glover is coming off a nice little win streak here. Anthony Smith says he has a lot of respect for him. He actually spoke about a fight back in the day. I think it was 2013, if I'm mistaken, or maybe 2012. But Anthony Smith had fought Antonio Braganetta in Brazil. He lost that fight. That was his first fight in the UFC. He was cut afterwards, came back, and he's become a beast since then. But he said that he really was struggling in the airport to communicate with the Brazilians. And he said Glover Teixeira had helped him out, try to get him through the airport. And he said he's always respected the guy. And he said that the call was nothing to do with disrespect. He respects Glover, and that's why he wants to fight him. And he also believes that Glover deserves a main event now after these last couple wins. Yes, they have both a common opponent there in Gustafsson, and Glover obviously got knocked out by Gustafsson, and Smith submitted him. Also, they both fought John Jones. They both lost decisions to John Jones. But you know what? It's a fight that makes sense. Smith is number 3 ranked guy, and Glover's ranked number 9, so they're kind of far apart in the rankings. But again, if you look at the top 10 in the UFC light heavyweight division, everyone else is either booked, they've already fought Smith and Glover, or they're not available at the moment. So this fight makes perfect sense. I really like the call by Anthony Smith. This is actually the fight that I was thinking about myself. So this fight makes a lot of sense. Anthony Smith's a very intelligent guy. And I definitely feel like the UFC is a very good opportunity here to book this fight. And Anthony Smith said he wants it to be a main event or a fight night card. Again, makes a lot of sense. Don't know what card that would be. Possibly UFC Brasilia, though. They do need a main event for that card in March. So Smith versus Glover, 5 rounds. That's a fight that I would watch. Just one fight announcement here. It's a flyweight bout at UFC Rio Rancho. Raulian Paiva against Mark De La Rosa. I should note that Mark De La Rosa and his wife, Montana De La Rosa, will both be fighting on this card. It's the first time in UFC history a married couple is fighting on the same card. So very, very cool stuff. I believe Mark Raimondi was the one who mentioned that anecdote. Mark De La Rosa, 2-3 in the UFC. He's 11-3 overall in his career. He struggled a little bit lately, coming off back-to-back losses to Alex Perez and Teixeira, France. But those guys are pretty solid fighters. He also lost to Tim Elliott, and then he has wins over Joby Sanchez and Elias Garcia. Overall, a solid fighter, but I feel like he's had some tough matchups in the UFC. He really hasn't performed that great. And then you got Raulian Paiva, 18-3 record. He is 0-2 in the UFC, lost to Teixeira, France. They have a common opponent there. And he has a win over Rogerio Bontorin, who's a really good fighter as well. So this guy's coming off a bad loss. It was a really nasty cut, but he is a solid fighter. Very interesting fight here. I don't know. It's a tough one to call. I guess a lot of people would favor De La Rosa. I personally have been a little bit more impressed with Paiva. He had that long win streak, and then he lost to France, but it was a close fight. So I guess I would lean a little bit toward Paiva. I just think he's slightly a better fighter, but very close fight, interesting matchup. I mean, I like the matchup. That card looks pretty good, and that's in February. So UFC Rio Rancho keeps getting new fights. And that's the only other fight announcement I had to make today. I know Bellator announced a few other fights, but really nothing notable. Curtis Billinger's getting an opponent, some guy I've never heard of. Should crush him. And that's about it. All right, guys, short show today, but I definitely wanted to get that news out of the way. So thanks again for tuning in. Check me on Twitter at MMAOB podcast. MMAOddsbreaker.com is my home and the podcast home. You can check us out at YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Anchor, a bunch of other places. So definitely check the podcast out there. And also check me out at bjpenn.com and MMAratings.net. Guys, once again, thanks for tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow for the Thursday edition of the podcast. Have a great day, guys. I'll see you later. Bye.